mask on. Hi to everyone who's joining.
Hello. Hi, guys. Hi, Lisa. Hi. Nice to see you. Very good. Fantastic. Shall we start?
Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah.
Well, let me go ahead. So most people know you for self-love and confidence, and most people know me for mindfulness. And we were thinking about putting this together because I think there are so many synergies. So I wanted to start actually by asking you, not the definition of self-love, but what do you find are the typical misconceptions about self-love, where people just get it wrong? What do you see in daily life?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think for misconception is, I think people can often think that a lot of self-care is the definition of self-love, right? So, you know, and yes, those things are really great, such as like the face masks and the bubble baths and, you know, doing your mani-pedis and facials. Yes, those are, and, you know, people do them and they're like hashtag self-love. You know, I've done my self-love for the day. And yeah, that's great. But those are more acts of self-care, I'd say. So that's more, you know, an act of self-care. So I mean, you can essentially be doing that, but if you're not feeling good within yourself, if you're not present in the moment, if you're not allowing yourself to enjoy it, then there isn't really, you know, self-love there. So I think that can be a misconception, you know, just kind of focusing on the act, the self-care rather than thinking it's self-love. That's say one thing. And I think also kind of placing externals on thinking that's, you know, self-love. So if I look really good, for example, I'll get dressed up, I look good, I've got my outfit on, yeah, this is self-love. Again, that's it. Yeah, hello, like look good, dress up, yeah, I love those things. But it's, you know, unless again you're feeling good about yourself and you're being kind to yourself from the inside as well, it's not really, you know, dressing up alone and looking good isn't, you know, self-love in itself.
And what would you say about how would you differentiate? Because, you know, dressing up and looking good and everything is also part of self-love, but there's always this fine line, right? Between, is it self-love or does it come out of vanity or maybe insecurity? So what would you say, how can you really differentiate between those two things?
I mean, it definitely is a bonus, right? You know, like when you dress up and you put on your makeup, you know, you wear a nice outfit, you know, that's an extension, I'd say. And I'll give you an example. You know, there are a lot of women, for example, who've come to me and they've done lots of things, for example, like surgery or, you know, like a lot of weight loss, again, weight loss surgery as well, thinking that, okay, when I do this, I will be happy. So I just need to do this. I need to fix my lips, my nose, you know, lose loads of weight, and then I'll be happy. And so if you kind of have that, you know, belief of like, I'll be happy when, that's when, you know, your outer appearance, that's when, you know, looking good, your physical appearance won't give you that, you know, inner fulfillment and satisfaction. So, you know, yes, like when you start to, I also think of it as an act of self-love as well, you know, like getting dressed up. So when you feel good, it's like a bonus, right? You want to do it because it's just an extension. So there's a difference. So yes, absolutely do it, but not thinking, okay, that only then I will be happy. You know, like work on being happy within yourself and then do that as an addition.
Yes, 100%.
What are your thoughts? So what are your thoughts on that? Like,
you know, I asked you that because today I came around a beautiful quote. It was a very long quote by a lady here on Instagram. Oh God, with my baby brain, I even forgot her name. I find it, I'll mention it afterwards. And she said, you know, here is the inconvenient truth for everyone who speaks about self-love. It's just, self-love is not just, you know, going for that donut because you say, oh, you know, I look good enough, or skipping your workout routine, or I don't know, not going for the new promotion because you say, you know what, it doesn't make me feel good and I feel scared. She said, actually, self-love is about what you have to do for yourself, what needs to be done, instead of what you feel you want to do right now. So she said it's really being on top of your financials, and it's setting boundaries and saying no, and maybe force yourself to go out and do that workout because you feel not comfortable with your body. Maybe you have like 2 pounds too much. So I thought how beautiful that is, because it's true. Very often we put everything into one pot. And it's true. I find it an act of self-love if I say, you know what, like especially now in the pregnancy and the last month, I had so much cravings for sweets. Usually I regulate it and I eat healthy because that's what needs to be done, because I feel good when I have halfway a healthy lifestyle, you know. But in the last weeks, I just felt like it, and it was good for me to say, you know what, I just allow myself to eat it. So I don't eat a Snickers and then I say, oh, look at me, and how will I get rid of it? So I find it is an act of self-love, but I think it's important to know what place does it come from. And that's actually where I think mindfulness also comes into place, to know yourself, to be in touch with yourself, and not to lie to yourself. I find it very, very important to be honest to yourself and just understand, where does this come from? If I tell myself, don't eat that sweet, is it coming from a place of self-love? Like, I want to take care of you. You really don't want it. Maybe you just want to eat it because you had not just a bad day, because you're bored.
Yeah.
And then it's self-love. But if I do it out of a place of insecurity, or, you know, everyone is eating, let me eat as well. It's very important to be able to tap into yourself and to understand what place is it coming from, because the outcome might be the same, but you know, what is it nurturing your desire for something.
It's really, it's like and it's reframing how you see it as well. So this an active, for example, exercise comes up a lot with this, like doing physical exercise. So, you know, a lot of these things, for example, with my clients, this comes up, you know, I want to be more physically active, you know, I want to do exercise. But a lot of the time what demotivates you is because you're coming from a place of, I have to, I don't like my body, I hate the way I look, you know, you don't feel good about yourself. So it's like, and of course it's over time, you know, but it's shifting it and reframing it and saying, well, actually, I'm going to start. I've done this with myself, by the way, you know, rather than feeling like I have to work out, this is what motivates me, is I look at it from an act of self-love. Because I'm like, well, I feel amazing, you know, when I exercise. I feel so energized and, you know, awake and alive. And I want to feel that way. That's self-love for me, making myself feel good. So that's, you know, what will motivate me. So it's not from a place of like punishment, you know, like punishing yourself to do something. So absolutely. And by the way, same with what you said about like managing your finances and like even the boring, you know, admin tasks that we don't want to do. I even say this, I'm like, you know what? Think of that as self-love as well. Like put some music on, you know, like have a good time, like have some tea, and, you know, think of that, because by managing your time, managing your finances, you're getting your life together, aren't you? And again, like that's an act of self-love. You know, you're managing yourself, you're getting your stuff together. So it's just kind of looking at it like in a different way, rather than I have to do this, you know. So yeah, it's a big difference. Hi Nora. Hey, hi Amira. Hey everyone is doing. Hey Amal. Let us, and Shameen as well, let us know your thoughts.
Exactly.
Conversation, you know, on self-love. What does self-love mean to you right now? And, you know, what are you doing this week? What have you been doing today and this week to practice self-love? We'd love to know. But Sofia, tell us, you know, I'd love to hear, you know, more about, you know, what you do and when it comes to mindfulness, and yeah, like how did you get into this?
Oh God, I got into this maybe 10 years ago, because I just felt, and this is really where self-love comes into play, is I felt that the way I behave at times, the things that I say, especially when I'm upset or angry, that's not me, and I don't want to be that person. So, you know, if I would get angry, or I would say things and then I would apologize for them and regret them, and I just didn't feel good about myself. I knew deep inside that's not me. It's something else that triggers me to say all those things and then feel ashamed about me. So, and that's how I got into mindfulness. You know, I I read a book by John Kabat-Zinn, and I thought, you know what, let me just try. And I felt maybe after 2 or 3 weeks of meditation, I started to feel what I call, like my real self and the person who I am, like how I'm behaving, coming closer together.
Wow.
And this was amazing, because what we do train in mindfulness is really we train our brain to be more present. And I know it's such a buzzword, present, I'm present. I mean, both of us are not present, but maybe inside we're not. So you're more present, so that the moment a trigger comes up, a thought comes up, sensation comes up, you're able to see it and to really choose how to act. And this choice is always taken if you're not practicing mindfulness. Then you're triggered. Somebody said something, somebody put some salt on your old wound, boom, you react, boom, you hit. And I found that finally I was able, it's like in slow motion, like somebody says something and you see like this trigger coming up and you're like, no, not gonna go for it. And you let it go. And this is what convinced me, and I stick to it. And then over the years, mindfulness brought just so much changes in my personality. And to be honest, because I'm mindful, it helps me to be myself, and it's so much easier for me to love myself.
That's
just
amazing.
Because I can really be myself, because I'm more in touch with what I think and how I behave and what I say.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So it really helped to bring like a much higher level of self-awareness for you by practicing mindfulness.
100%. And you know what I love? I mean, when I started in 2010, back then it was just either you believe in it or not, either you practice it or you haven't. And now we have so much research, and I'm a big fan of putting out all this brain research, because I now understand. Now we have the scientific evidence what's happening in our brain, because I know for myself I changed. If you ask my parents, my sister, everyone says, yeah, you changed over the years. You're so much more yourself, and it's so much more nicer to be with you. And if you look at just the simple brain research, we know today, and you probably know it, and I think most of our viewers as well, that we can actively shape our brain. We call it neuroplasticity, right?
Yeah.
So what we know today, we used to think 10 years ago, 20 years ago, because neuroplasticity just came up in the 90s. We used to think that the way you're born, with the brain you have, maybe you have a peak when you're like 18, and from then it only goes downwards with your brain. You can't do anything anymore. You get older and you start forgetting things, etc. So we thought it's really set in stone. But the truth is that even into a high age, you can really change your brain by the things that you do and think and pay attention to. And most people have no clue about it, because they keep doing the same things over and over. And it feels to them like, what do you mean my brain can't change? But the moment you start walking a different path, like what you teach, with self-love, you start seeing that things start becoming your habits. And that's exactly what happens with mindfulness. The more often you practice it, the more self-aware you become, and the more responsibility can you take back of your life.
And also, I think something to highlight as well is that, mindfulness isn't just about, taking bits of time out of your day. Is it to sit and be mindful? It's a lifestyle, essentially, isn't it? It's the way you live your life.
I love that you mentioned it. It's not a hobby. It's not, once in a while a spa treatment, kind of let me meditate or let me go for 3 days in a silent retreat.
And then get back to my crazy busy life.
Yes. But like self-love, it's a lifestyle. It's an attitude. It's something that you need to do daily, like brushing your teeth.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, and I think you can be mindful with everything you do as well, can't you? I mean, it's just, I mean, even just noticing, like for myself, like, I'm here now talking to you, but my phone is flipped over, for example. It's something I always do. If I'm with someone, my phone is never like face up. It's always down. That's just an example, because I don't want my phone to start flashing and my mind to start going down. I mean, when you do that, such a small thing, then, you know, you're not mindful anymore. You're not present with the people. So it's just small things like that came to my attention now. But it's with anything, right? Like when you're eating, you're just eating your food. You're with that person, or you're not, again, on your phone or on your laptop, whatever. You're just, you know, eating. When you're in a conversation, you're present with that person. You're not pretending to be there, but your mind is elsewhere. So it's really like, it's how you do everything, would you say? And I just thought maybe you can explore that a bit more, like maybe the difference between, yeah, even meditation and mindfulness. So yeah.
Yes, so meditation, and you know, meditation is such a big word, and it's such a sometimes explosive word, because so many people understand so many things under it, and so many people think it's something religious, and you know, you have these pictures every time you Google meditation. But for me, meditation or mindfulness meditation that I practice and that I teach is just the training of your mind. So what we do is really like a brain gym. So you just sit down, you take just some time from your day, 10, 15 minutes, 20 if you can manage, and you just focus on your breath. That's like the most basic one. And what happens is that thoughts will come up immediately, sensations will come up. You will see that your mind is so busy. But by sitting down and just kind of turning off everything, you know, tuning out of everything, you can focus on your mind. And then this monkey mind starts. So thoughts bombarding you, and feelings and memories, and thinking of the future. And the idea is just to be able to recognize that you're thinking.
Yeah.
And the moment you recognize, you kind of see your thought. It doesn't happen immediately. For me, it was like after 3 weeks that I could really like see it, like, oh, I saw thought, kind of, you know, I noticed that I'm thinking, and just let go of that thought. Like, just don't follow it, and come back to your breath. And this is what you do for 15 minutes. And sometimes in 15 minutes, you don't manage to do it even once. And that's okay.
Goes so fast.
Yeah. And sometimes you manage to do it several times. But by doing this, you know, repetitively every day, you train your brain on just being present. Because then you train yourself to see what comes up, instead of, you know, identifying yourself with the thought and just go with it. Whatever your mind throws at you, you take it. And that's all that we do. But, you know, I could talk for hours about it. I find when it comes to meditation, it's like if you would ask me, you know, what does it feel when I jump into the river, and you've never taken a shower and you never felt water on your skin. How can I explain to you how this water or all around you feel like? It's really something that everyone has to kind of try for themselves and experience and find their own way into it. It's hard to explain with words.
I think kind of having a why as well is definitely a motivation as to why, because a lot of people, it's like, no, I don't want to do that. It sounds woo-woo. It sounds silly, you know. But I think, like, for me, I don't know, I think it's been about a year now. I start every morning with doing a meditation. It's like I have to now, because it just starts my mind in the most calm way. It gives me so much clarity. It's like before jumping and doing all the to-do lists, I can't tell you how much clarity I get in the morning, you know. And it's like you give yourself that time in the morning to think, okay, how am I feeling today? You know, what's going on for me right now? What's come up in my mind? Just giving yourself that space, like you said, for the thoughts. And I know there's a lot of time people, you know, struggle and give up. And I like how you said it's, you know, brain training, because something I hear a lot is, oh, I have to control my thoughts. I find it hard to control my thoughts. But it's not about control, is it? That's the whole point. We're not controlling them, suppressing them. Like you said, it's about allowing them, like, to float in. Like on one meditation I listened to, he talks about putting them into like hot air balloons and just letting them you know, float away. And that's what it's about, really, just kind of letting them come in and out. But again, it's having a why, you know, like, so for my why is because I want to feel calm in the morning. I want to start my day in the most calm way. And I don't think, like, time isn't an issue. You can do as little as 5 minutes. I do even 5-minute meditations, and it, you know, makes the biggest difference. So again, it's your why. You know, if you want to feel calmer, you want to feel, you know, more ease, have clarity, then then you know, think about, you know, starting to do some breathing. So, and Ahlan says, can you save the live? Yeah, absolutely. We'll save the live and we'll upload it.
Yes. Shall we
I hope
take
you're
a look at some of
and
the comments? Because we promised to take any comment and we've been ignoring you miserably. I'm
yeah,
so sorry.
sorry.
You see, this is what happens. Like when we talk, we could talk for hours. we, 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 no, we are mindful because we are so
Yeah.
tuned into each other that we don't put our minds into anything else. But let's take a look maybe at something that people write. Hi,
I know Sam
hi.
said, I think self-love is being gentle to yourself and being yourself no matter what others think. That's really lovely. Yeah, absolutely. And being intentional. Yeah, so the rest of you who are watching, let us know your thoughts. Is this something you do? Do you practice mindfulness? What does it mean to you? Is meditation something you do? Is breathing something you do?
Yeah. And what are maybe your misconceptions about meditation, and where is like what's keeping you maybe from trying it? Because I think for a lot of people it's like all the prejudices that we have, because I mean meditation does come from an Eastern tradition, and there is all of the like unknown, you know, around Buddhism, and you have to become a Buddhist now. So I understand that there are like a lot of question marks, but I really urge you to see it as a brain training. You don't have to tie it to anything. It's really, for me, I think if you can breathe, you can meditate.
Yeah.
It's such an innate ability that we have. So please feel free maybe to ask us questions all around.
And like it does get easier over time as well. You know, I was one of those people. I used to sit for 1 minute and my mind was just buzzing, 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 and I was like, "Oh, this is so hard." But now, yeah, like with anything, it becomes easier over time. And again, it comes back to the why, which is how I want to feel. So there are days, and this is when I said it just almost becomes a lifestyle. There are days where, let's say, your days are just super crazy. Like there's lots going on, and like for me, I don't like being in that state of mind. I hate it, when I'm feeling all over the place. My mind is like, full and just it feels really cloudy. And I know that I can't think properly in that state. I know that I can't work and be productive in that state. I know that I feel stressed in that state, and obviously it's not good for communication either. So when I'm experiencing that, then I'm like, okay, right, I need a timeout, and I'll literally just take, I'll sit somewhere. I'll actually move as well physically. I'll go to a different room, stand outside, and I'll just do some breathing for even just a few minutes. I will get away from the screen and like look out into the sky, things like that. And instantly my state has changed. I feel so much calmer, feel so much better. And then I'm like, wow, okay, now I can get back to what I want to do because this is how I want to feel. So I think for me, that's really, again, what being mindfulness is, like being aware of, okay, this is coming up for me right now. Let me, be proactive. Like you said, instead of being reactive and letting that run you, letting that thought run you, letting that feeling run you and take over your day, you're like, okay, I'm going to change this and be proactive.
100%. Oh, Muli, I hope I pronounced it right. I consider listening to my favorite music during the day my type of meditation. 100%. So, I think whenever you are in the now and fully in the now, and I think we get it with music when there's like some favorite song and we just enjoy listening to it, this is a form of meditation for sure. 100%.
That's me when I drive. Actually, one of my favorite things to do is just drive, put the music loud, and just like get lost in it. I love that.
Yeah.
So
Me too.
yeah, definitely. Sing even though I can't sing.
Yes.
But also, I think something as well, when I think tying in, mindfulness and self-love is, our thoughts, the way we think.
100%.
That's another thing as well, because, when it comes to building and developing your self-love, one of the things to start becoming aware of is, your self-talk. Becoming aware of the conversations that you're having, what are you saying to yourself? And again, that ties into mindfulness, doesn't it? So tapping in, and rather than like judging yourself or thinking in that moment, I have to change it. No, this is really bad. Become aware, right? I kind of think of it as like becoming friends with the voice in your head, like just getting to know what's going on in there and getting to know, how it's making you feel. What are the stories that you're telling yourself making you feel? So first, just kind of get that awareness. and then just kind of understand, like, do I want to feel like this? How is it causing me to behave and respond? And then from there, think about, okay, well, you know, what should I change if this isn't serving me? So that's a big part of I think that's how it ties in a lot as well.
Absolutely, because, you know, I wonder how without mindfulness you could tap into self-love, because you're spelling it quite right, thank you. Because what happens then, that maybe in retrospect you go through some. So if you're not a mindful person, so if you're not training yourself to be aware in that moment, and believe me, this requires training. I don't know anyone who was just born with a, you know, like sharp, mindful attitude, like that they're always in the now and they can immediately in milliseconds analyze what they feel and what they do. So if you're not a mindful person, so you go through the day and things happen. For example, you know, you don't set boundaries. Somebody said something to you, pushed you into doing something, you did it, and you didn't feel comfy in that moment, but you were not sure what is it. And then in the evening or maybe days later, you start thinking about it in a retrospect, right? You think, so what was it? Why didn't I feel well, etc., etc. And by the way, not everyone does it. A lot of people will just swallow it. So you're already good if you think about it. And then, so you thought about it, you analyzed that maybe you didn't feel comfortable that your co-worker, you know, pushed you into finishing his presentation and then taking, you know, the kudos for him and not mentioning your name. So this is like a lack of boundaries, and also a lack of self-love, saying, you know what, wait a minute, I'm not gonna do this for you, or you know, if we do it, please mention my name, something like that. So you analyzed it and you know what was the mistake. So how do you make sure next time this guy, or maybe someone else, or another lady comes to you with a similar request, how do you make sure that in that moment you realize, wait, this is a moment for my boundaries so that I can feel well? And how do you enact it? If you're not mindful, if you're not, you know, because those things happen so quickly. We know it, right? How it goes so quickly.
Yeah.
How are you capable of then just saying, stop?
Yeah.
So
and that would save you so much of the after stuff, you know, like you said, feeling annoyed, feeling regret, feeling getting angry with yourself, like, why did I do that, why didn't I do that? Whereas if you just had that little time, even if it's just a minute to yourself of awareness, being mindful, and like recognizing how you feel in that moment, recognizing this is not okay for me, this is pushing my boundaries. You know what, you know, just like you said, giving yourself that time and space to recognize how you feel and then acting on it at that moment. So it's a difference really between being reactive and proactive, isn't it? You just have that little time, that 100%. Conversation, and you're like, right, I want to do something, and then
Yes, and I'll tell you even more. So I'm teaching, maybe sort of my feet in the last weeks, I've been teaching Search Inside Yourself. This is a program developed at Google. It's a 2-day workshop, and it's about emotional intelligence that is based on mindfulness. And what we learn there is that we first learn what is mindfulness. We do some exercises to create this kind of self-awareness, and then we go into emotional intelligence, which is, you know, the first category of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, and then we have self-management. So clearly what we say, what Daniel Goleman, who was like the pioneer, you know, with his book Emotional Intelligence, he said you need mindfulness, because emotional intelligence, the definition of it is to be able to like see, observe and understand your emotions, and then and the emotions of others, and then have your thinking and acting being guided by the information you took. So he clearly says there is no way you can have self-awareness, you can tap into your emotion, you can understand what is it that I'm feeling. You know, again, if we take this example of this coworker, am I feeling like he's putting me down? Do I feel disappointed? Do I feel you know, pushed away? Am I angry? There's so many feelings, and how shall we, you know, differentiate if you don't have self-awareness, which comes from mindfulness.
So what you're saying, because so the second one in emotional intelligence, it's self-regulation, isn't it? So it's actually it's working and managing your emotions, managing how you feel. So as you're saying, you can't do the second one if you don't have the first one. How can you regulate how you feel if you don't have the awareness? So that's already the two. So that's, yeah, a big foundation of emotional intelligence as well. So I also like to think of it as like physical space. This is just how it works, how I like to think of it. I like to think of like my mind as a kind of like a room, like a kind of like, yeah, this is kind of space. And I just feel like the more you have in it, the more cluttered it is, the more physical space it's taking up. And you find that, and when you are when your mind does feel clouded and cluttered, you feel, you're kind of like, you're feeling more, more jittery, you're more kind of, you're higher energy. And you can see that, people aren't, even when you see that with others, they're not as present with you as well. You're just not as present with other people. You just can't be, because you have so much going on. So, with anything, it's really, I like to think of it as decluttering your mind as well. Like just getting rid of the clutter, like just like clearing out that space. And I think I've gotten into it way more as someone who, because I obviously run my own business now, I have to manage my own time, I create my own projects, and I've realized that in order to be creative, you have to have that space, you have to have mental clarity. You can't think, generate ideas with all that stuff in your mind. So, and it's incredible as well. I found it from so much, it's like you clear your mind and then an idea will just pop up into your mind. Like, I think before I used to like force things, like I need to think of an idea for this, I need to like plan, I need to know, and it wasn't happening. I found that when you just give yourself the space, like the ideas will come in, the decision that you're struggling to make, it will come to you. Like, this is the beauty of it as well, I found, of being more mindful.
Absolutely. I remember your post from, I think like 2 weeks ago. You went on a short staycation, and that's exactly what you wrote about it. You were pushing yourself so much to come up with an idea, but innovation and ideas are just something that is not rational. It's not math. Creativity is not math. So you really need to tap into something that is deeper inside of you. And 100%. So for me, I have it quite often, when I sit down in meditation, and also I'm meditating for 10 years on almost daily basis. And believe me, a few days ago, I was sitting for 40 minutes. I could not just, let go one thought. I had so many thoughts. And you know what? That's absolutely okay. So for all of you who are starting and maybe who are struggling, don't think that after 3 years of meditation, you'll get into the space where you just sit down and for half an hour, your mind is blank. This will never happen.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely fine. But quite often I sit there and I just let go, and I feel that my mind calms. That's what you say. And then suddenly thoughts come up and ideas, and on things that have been somewhere in the back of my mind, and I didn't have quite a solution, but then things come up, and because I'm in this kind of stillness, I'm capable of feeling, does that feel good to me? Because it's very important. I really believe in your inner voice, in your intuition. And by the way, mindfulness is being used for so many different reasons. But I know of a big company here in Germany that is teaching their leaders mindfulness to be able to tap into their intuition, especially when they take big decisions. Because intuition is something, it's not logical, it just comes up and it feels right for you. And if it feels right for you, you need to go for that. So absolutely, when you sit down in stillness, then you get answers to questions that you might have posed. But again, don't expect, don't sit down and say, I need an answer, please. That's how it works. It's really about just letting it go and letting things come up. And another very important thing is that so when you have this answer, you tend like, I need to write it down because I'll forget it. So you get out of meditation and you open your phone, you start writing down your notes. So what I learned, I heard it once from I did a lot of retreats and silent retreats. And one of the leaders there told me, Sofia, if that's important, whatever came up, for you in meditation will come back after meditation.
Oh, really? That's okay. That's interesting. That's really
And
interesting.
I started trusting it, and she was right.
Really.
Not that you know, the moment you like, okay, I meditated, so where's the thought? No, it might come back to you 2 hours later, maybe the next day, but it will come back to you. So please, and that's very important, that when you sit in meditation, just imagine you're this majestic rock, and nothing can move you. Even not, you know, $1 million thought that you might have. Although if it's $1 million thought, you know, feel free to, you know, yes, just get up. You know, but usually, you know, just don't jump on every thought that comes up and you feel, my God, that's an amazing thought, and stop your meditation. Just stay in there and see, you know, maybe some more will come up, and just enjoy, but don't expect anything. I think it's important.
Yeah, no, I really love that. I love that you shared that it comes back to you as well, because you can easily be like, oh my God, I need to write it down. And also I think it's a big part of another benefit as well to doing this is I really feel that when you feel you're calm within yourself, you're allowing other people, and I've observed this with myself, with people that I felt comfortable around with. I'm like, okay, what is it that I like about this person? And these people that I've connected with, you know, like they're leaders in my organizations, they're managers or people, and you know, you could be doing amazing in your career, but if your mind is just like everywhere, you're not present with that person, then you're not naturally necessarily going to have, you know, a great impact. But the people that I found really inspired me were the people who were just, when you're with them, they're just so, this like calming energy. They were very present as well. And I kind of looked at that and I was like, wow, you know, I want to give off that aura as well. I want to make people feel how they make me feel. You know, I find it very inspiring, because when you're very kind of chaotic within your own mind, then other people feel that as well. Other people will kind of feed off the energy and feel kind of maybe stressed out as well, depending on how much they pick up on the other energies. But yeah, so that's what I saw in other people and wanted to, sort of emulate myself.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing, I know too, that's what I call presence.
Yeah.
You know, when people are just fully present, and you know, I seldomly cite the Dalai Lama or Buddha. I don't go there, although I find it super interesting, and I myself read these things with an open mind, but I don't stand for any religion. But every time I read about someone describing how their encounter was with the Dalai Lama, they all say that when he's sitting with you, you have the feeling you are the only person existing in this world, and he is just listening to you. And obviously this is someone who is doing a lot of meditation, you know. I read he's meditating 4 hours a day. He wakes up around 3:30, does a small run on his treadmill, and 4 hours, yes, he meditates. And you know, I think this is like the ultimate presence. If you're so calm in your head, so I can listen to you without thinking of my to-do list for later, or without thinking about an argument I had yesterday, or without going into judgment, or thinking, oh, I'm wondering what she's thinking, or so I'm fully present with you. My mind is clear. It's like a sea, and I'm here to hear every word you say. And I think that this presence, like this aura, this calmness, is what a lot of those leaders are emanating.
Yeah.
Of whom, by the way, a lot are meditating. It's just now in the last 2-3 years that people are start to talk about it. But even when you look into business, you have people like Ray Dalio, who's like one of the most successful hedge fund managers, a billionaire, who's talking about it openly. And I mean, we know that Oprah is doing it, but also in the Silicon Valley, so many people are meditating. I just think a lot of people just don't discuss it because it's still not a topic that is completely neutral. But I think in 10-15 years, our kids, latest our grandkids, for them meditation will be another part of kind of daily hygiene, like brushing your teeth or getting your hair done.
Yeah, literally. Just say hi Lolita, hi to everyone who's joining and waving and giving love. I hope you're enjoying the conversation. Do let us know your thoughts as well, and if you have any questions, Is this something you practice, you know, within your daily life now? Is it something you want to explore more? Let us know. But yeah, Sophia, I mean, you said about the next generation. I mean, you have a baby coming along in what, 2 weeks?
Yay. Yeah, less than 2 weeks. Yeah, I
Yeah.
told them to, stay inside for this live session.
I need to be pregnant, so don't.
Yes, no
Um,
kids, a mindful baby.
oh yeah, I was gonna say. So is this? I mean, is there stuff for like young children? I mean, is there something now? Like, I'm sure there's loads. I'm sure there's loads of things now for baby. Well, maybe not babies, but young children, right? Getting them into mindfulness.
Yes, and I think it's very important because the kids of today grow up in a different world that you and I grew up, or than obviously our parents grew up. Because you and I, although we are millennials, and also we grew up kind of with the internet, but we didn't have the social media and everything. So we also got into it, let's say, in our 20s, when we also saw other things. But I think the kids of today, they grow up with all of this variety. There is no need for a child today to go on the street and play on the street, right? Because there is so much on their phone. And above all, they're distracted all day long because there's always this competition for your attention. And I think for children, it's also hard to be able to differentiate, what do I put my attention on? And I think that mindfulness is really, it's a must-have for kids nowadays. It's really a must-have to be able to first to spend some time with yourself apart from your screen, and to tap into yourself, and also to learn to get into emotional intelligence, and to learn to understand your emotions, differentiate your emotions, putting them to use, understanding what do they tell me, what do I want to change, how do I want to behave. These are things you can't learn on screen, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it's right. I mean, yeah, like you said, growing up, we didn't have, I think, started using Facebook around like 16 years old, and like, yeah, Instagram was way later. And I'm kind of glad to have been in that generation where it wasn't like we weren't obsessed, we weren't on our phones. But yeah, I do look at, the younger generation, and I'm kind of like, oh, I think even at one point I even thought like, okay, if I have kids in the future, I don't want them to be all techie and stuff. But actually, it's inevitable though, isn't it? Like it's how things are now, right? Like, the screen is what they all learn on now. You see like children from using the iPads for homework, etc. So I guess it's really about like doing that alongside. So being like, right, their lifestyle is tech, but how do you alongside that get them to be more mindful, have a life outside of the laptop, rather than just, because I guess you can't escape it really. So I guess it's like creating that life alongside the tech world that the next generation are in.
Yes, and above all, I find even as a grown-up, as a mindful grown-up, it's sometimes hard to control how much you are on your phone. So I have, and my fiance always laughs about me, but I set up like this time control on my iPhone. So after like 2 hours on the screen, like total screen, I get this, it shuts down and tells me, you exceeded your time today. So that I have some sort of control over it. But even, I'm as a grown-up, I have sometimes difficulties. You get online and you start looking, and then you lose time. And it's fine, maybe, if you're reading something interesting, which doesn't happen too often. But when you start going on social media, and to be honest, I have this like kind of love-hate relationship. I don't know whom of you feels similar. On the one side, I love these kind of things, that you and I can go live. We're sitting like 6,000 kilometers apart, with people looking at us, people listening, people asking questions. We can connect in a way like we were never able to connect. And this is beyond beautiful. But also the negative side is that when I go on my Instagram, like what we always need to remember is that all of us, and this is the most natural thing, we put out the best of us online. So nobody wakes up and takes a picture of them, being grumpy or not looking good, or, And I don't know,
Yeah,
the
having
pajamas is old.
they're bad, feeling stressed. Yeah, for sure.
Nobody takes a picture of that.
Yeah.
Right? So everyone puts out the best of them, and people control what they put out, and they put out whatever makes them feel good about themselves. And then you turn on the screen and you go through it and you're like, oh, great, great, great. And then subconsciously, that's probably where self-love also comes into play, but subconsciously you start feeling maybe bad about yourself, and maybe your expectations of life start to be unrealistic. And then maybe you get into appearances. You saw this beautiful dress, and you saw this handbag, and you saw these shoes, and then like, oh my god, I want them too. And maybe you never wanted them, but I find it then it takes again mindfulness and awareness to stay aware and to say, wait a second, okay, that's beautiful to look at, but doesn't mean that I need to have it, or that it will make me happier, or it will make me more valuable. And this is a trend that to be honest, I have my difficulties with it. How do you see this? How do you connect to social media?
So yeah, I think it's I think about being aware of how accounts make you feel as well. So I think if there are accounts that are, yeah, like whenever you see them, they're not making you feel so good about yourself, they're not, it has a negative vibe, then I mean, unfollow those accounts. Like, it's like, what is social media for you? Like for me, I like social media because I follow like a lot of inspiring posts. I have a lot of great people on there that I have conversations with, a lot of you guys who are amazing. And I always feel good when I go on my social media feed because I have a lot of positivity on there. So again, it's like being mindful of who you're following, I'd say, for one. So, and it's having that awareness that Instagram is just a snapshot of people's lives. It's like it's their highlight, and you're comparing your highlight with their highlight with your behind the scenes. You're having a bad day and you're like, oh, everyone's having their best life. No, not necessarily. That's like the best moment of their day that they put on there. It doesn't mean anything. That's just it. They just showed you a glimpse. And I think, it's just reminding yourself, of that as well. I mean, for me, a lot of the time, and I know I posted about this on that post as well, is like when I go out, a lot of the time, I don't even take pictures when I go out with friends. And I regret it afterwards as well. I'm like, oh, why did I take pictures? Because, it's just like, it's something that, I forget to do. I like to be, in the moment, like having fun, rather than, taking the photos for the gram. But something actually that you mentioned about, like social media and notifications, like a kind of tip that I wanted to share is, again, social media can be like really busy, it can be distracting, but again, it's how you manage it as well. And I know that this is something I've shared loads and loads, and I'll share it again, is that I sleep, for example, I sleep with my phone on airplane mode. So I'm not disturbed when I sleep, and when I wake up in the morning, I don't put my phone on for like about 45 minutes to an hour. That's like my time, for my morning routine, for exercise, for meditation, to do my morning stuff, because I need that time for me. And then once I've done my morning routine, then I'll be like, okay, what's the world saying now? Because otherwise, if I put my phone on in the morning and it's like WhatsApp messages and scrolling through your phone, and my God, like, it's just like the worst feeling. I hate it. My mind is so busy. And by the way, it actually affects me the whole day. Like, my mind is busy for the whole rest of the day, and I hate it. So it's just like, managing, you don't need to sit and scroll through that. If I personally feel like that's the worst way to start your day, because you're sitting there and it's like, okay, noise, and this person said this person's doing that, this person, and where's the space to just think about how you feel and make set intentions for the day. So that's one thing, it's like just setting your own kind of time with social media. And secondly, another thing is like even notifications. Like, I don't have any of my notifications on, and I use social media a lot for my work. I don't have any messages, so I need to have to go into the app and see my notifications. Otherwise, again, it would be like notification, and I know my mind would get really busy and stressed out. So it's just like managing, these things, I'd say. I'm just going to read some of the comments. As I said, another idea, I saw a quote that says, you shouldn't value yourself by the number and followers and likes you get. I want to say something about that actually, because I know, Anna, we've talked about social media as well, and we've talked about this a few times. Like I've had so many people who have reached out to me because like they've reached out to me to help them, and they tell me that they love my videos. They tell me that they've watched all my YouTube videos, they love my videos, and I know that they haven't liked them, they've never commented on them before. And so like and so what I'm trying to say there is that the likes and the comments mean nothing. Like it doesn't mean that you're not impacting, you can be impacting people more than you know without the like. That's just nothing. It's just a vanity metric. Focus on what you are doing, like the value and everything, and that's just a bonus really. So yeah.
Beautifully said. I mean, 100%. I agree with you on everything. The morning routine is same for me. I think it's very, very important, because I think the way you start your day is how your day unfolds. And I think it's just important to just not, you will have enough time to take your phone in the morning. And I always think that if there would have been like that gigantic emergency, they would have found you, like people will call you 150 times, and at some moment you'll realize like there is like the phone is buzzing all the time. But for me as well, I put it on complete silence, on this the moon mode.
Do not disturb.
Like,
Yeah.
do not disturb when I sleep. And in the morning I don't even touch it. Like now I have the luxury that I get all the sleep that I can. So there is no alarm that I put on. So there is no need to touch the phone, because obviously when you have the alarm and you take the phone just to push stop, you immediately see like the messages and everything. So I don't look at them, and like no push notifications whatsoever. WhatsApp, obviously, but that's it. Because I also know for myself that I'll get distracted. I used to be like that, when I used to work in Berlin in the startup scene. There was so much distraction, and it was too much. I couldn't get clarity. And I know for myself that what needs to be done is to turn off all the push notifications. There is nothing that important for every one of you who are like having hundreds of them. Believe me, nothing is that important. If it costs you your peace of mind, clarity, it's not worth it.
But nowadays we almost we make it more important, right? Like we have this pressure that we need to reply, within a certain time. Like if we have now we have like the scene on there, right? It's a scene, and you've got the blue ticks on WhatsApp, which I've turned off. But like all these things, it gives you that additional pressure as well, almost with social media, like to reply, quickly, and that's an additional kind of
100%.
stress as well.
This is again where self-love applies, where you need for yourself, like don't let anyone push you into replying immediately. If you don't have the time now, if you're not in the mood, if this is not urgent, like it's not someone says, I'm standing in front of your door, could you please open the door? Obviously you need to reply now. But if somebody's sharing something with you, and I'm very rigorous with that, and my friends know it, and I think those people who remain my friends are okay with me. Sounds strange, but replying 1, 2, or even 3 days later.
Yeah.
Because I like to take my time, and if we talk about something substantial, they were sharing some story of their life, and I will not do it in between me walking from the supermarket home. I need to have a little bit of space, a little bit of time, and then I reply. And those who are okay with that, they all remain my friends, because I had people who would like push me like, you didn't reply, I wrote you 2 hours ago, why didn't you reply?
Oh wow.
And I do not appreciate it. So I want my friends to trust me that I know when is the right moment to reply. And again, if it's not something urgent, I mean, this we understand. But it's important for me that I'm given the freedom to take my own decisions and not being pushed into something that I don't feel comfortable with, because I also don't push. They don't push me. We have here a question from Delicious Versatile. I hope I pronounce it right. This younger generation has been dealing and complaining about getting overwhelmed with anxiety issues. Would you like to suggest how to help them? Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's a big one. I'm not a therapist, Aliyah isn't either. But from my side, I obviously would say again that, take it or leave it. But I think that mindfulness can go a long way, because again, why do you have anxiety? Why do you have overwhelming? Because everything from the outside is coming at you, right? And we are triggered so much, and it goes also back into brain research. Maybe a quick going into this. When we feel anxiety, what happens is that our fear center in our brain, something that's called amygdala, is being triggered. So we have this small like almond-like nuclei in our brain, and what it does, it just looks for threat all day long. And there has been a lot, and when it detects threat, whatever threat might be, this is when it kind of shuts down the prefrontal cortex, which is like the CEO of our brain, where we take rational decisions. It shuts it down and puts us into a fight or flight mode. This is where we experience anxiety. And there have been lots of research that show that whenever we are always bombarded with information, with to-dos, with lots of thoughts, that's what makes our amygdala very sensitive to small things. And that's where I go back to saying you need to learn to calm yourself down, to be in the now, to see your thoughts, to let go of your thoughts. Don't believe everything you're thinking, because also parts of anxiety and overwhelming is like there's so many thoughts and you follow all of them and you don't know where to stop. So just to ground yourself, you need to practice mindfulness.
Sofia, I think we're probably going to get cut off in like
1 minute and 11 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It comes up. Yeah, we've got one. Yeah, I've got 1 hour. So this has been lovely, and wow, the hours flew by. I knew it would with you. I knew our conversation would just flow. I feel like we could still do this for another few hours.
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
It's been really, really great. And thank you to everyone as well for your comments and tuning in. Let us know before we go, like, yeah, did you enjoy it? What did you like about it? What are you going to take away from the live? We'd love to hear. And of course, feel free to drop us a message as well. I don't know if your DMs, feel free to drop us a message as well if you have any more questions following on from this live. We'd love to help you in any way.
Absolutely. So yes, please feel free to reach out to each of us. If you have any question, we are here for you. It was great. Thank you for all the love you sent us. We didn't manage to reply to every nice comment that we received. Well, we do appreciate it, and it has been amazing. We had so much fun. We have to repeat it.
Definitely. Yes, do another one again in the future for sure.
We will.
Thank you.